Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new Cardfight Vanguard video for you guys today, and today we are going to be talking about the Buddyfight deck I almost missed. So this is Kyoya, this is the Dragon Een Buddyfight deck. This is the last of the Buddyfight decks, and while it does have a pretty basic playstyle, it does have some cool gimmicks to it. So I wanted to talk about it with you guys. As always, we'll go through the support, talk about the deck build, and go into some gameplay. So if you guys enjoy the kind of content, drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in, let's talk about it. So the Buddyfight decks all have a pretty insane amount of support. This actually has the least, so we should be able to cover this the fastest, but just bear with me, might be a little bit longer. So let's talk about our ride line real quick. So first off, we gotta talk about our starter, Dragon Een. This one is hilarious. This is the most interesting of the starters, I think. So it has the same thing that that the other starters have with the raise the flag. You can only have one in your deck. It goes into the order zone. As soon as you ride over it, you can play Buddyfight cards that are either Dragon Een or generic, or that have Dragon in its race. Not as its race, in its race. So cards like the drum cards, which are armor dragons, you can play. Now, it also has another effect. Auto, when this card is put into the order zone, discard a card from hand, and until the end of this fight, the number of cards in your damage zone for you to lose becomes 7. So your first turn, you're going to discard for ride. You're going to get your gauge zone, get your buddy. You're going to discard for this, and now you don't lose till 7. And then you're also going to charge and draw. So you have to worry about giving up 3 cards. It's a little intensive in the early game, but that's because the deck gets a shitload of pluses. Spoiler alert, the only problem I've been having with this deck is actually deck out. You draw a lot of cards. You burn through a lot of resources. So it's like, you got to be careful, because if you don't kill your opponent by turn 4, turn 5, you're going to deck out. It feels a little bit like Odium in that sense. Anyway, let's talk about our silver line. So first we got Gaian Financial Group overall head Kyoya Gaian. When this unit is rolled upon by Invitation to Disaster Kyoya again, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with Dragon in its race without Sentinel from among them. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle the deck. Doesn't care what the grade is of the card. As long as it has Dragon, you can add it. Can be orders, can be triggers, can be whatever the fuck you want. Yes, there are orders that have Dragon in the name, Dragon in the race, I know. Invitation to Disaster Kyoya Gaian. When this unit is rolled upon by a grade 3 with Kyoya in its card name, put the top card of your deck into the gauge face down, draw a card. Gets you a resource, draws you a card. And as you see, getting a lot of pluses. That right there replaces the 2 cards you would have discarded at the beginning of the game. Now, Savior of the World Kyoya Gaian. This thing is very, very simple, but it's nice. First off, these cards have some of the best card art out of the Buddyfight cards. Like, look at this. Can't tell me that doesn't look amazing. But anyway, so all of your rear guards with Dragon in its race get power plus 5,000, even active on your opponent's turn. So, it's a little hard to get rid of your dudes. Act Vanguard once per turn. Counterblast one of the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with the Dragon in this race. From among them, reveal it. Call it to rear guard if it is a unit card, and put it into your hand if it is a normal order. Shuffle the deck. And lastly is Dragon Throne. Continuous. Your units with Azai Dahaka in their card name can be called regardless of their grades, and they can attack from the back row center column. Those are our 2 beat sticks. We'll talk about that when we talk about the rest of the support. As we did with the rest of the Buddyfight cards, we're going to go from 0 up and cover what we have for support. Well, spoiler alert, this deck doesn't have any specific grade 0s. But it has access to all of the Dragon grade 0s, which are, we have our generics, we have all of the Dragon roll cards. I looked it up, they all have Dragon as their race, and even some of the one of the 100 demons, this one, which is you choose one of your rear guards, retire it, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and then you get to put the top card of your deck into the gauge. So that's actually pretty good. And then, yeah, it's really good with Yamageto, because Yamageto can save itself, but you get what I'm saying. And then, of course, we have all the Dragon World triggers. Grade 1s. Deck doesn't have a whole lot of specific grade 1s either. As a matter of fact, I think it only has 1. Oh, 1 and an order. So it has this Dragon Knight Cagliostro. Its race is a Dragon Knight. Again, has Dragon in it, counts. When this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have not placed another rear guard with the same name as this unit this turn, and your order zone has Dragon Een, draw a card. Easy. Call, draw. Call, draw. It's super easy, and when you see the cost of one of the grade 4s, you'll see why that's actually really good. And then we have our order, Dragon Emperor Legend. Put this card into your gauge face down and draw a card. If you have no face-up cards in your damage zone, countercharge 1. Until the end of the turn, you can play up to 2 orders, and you cannot play orders other than Divine Dragon Creation. That's the grade 2 order. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's talk about what this thing does. Gives you a gauge, draws you a card, and can countercharge if you have no face-up damage. It's a really solid card. Really solid. Now, grade 2s, we have this card, which I don't really like. This is Dragon Knight PCRO. So, interesting thing about this is it's a dragon. It's a Dragon Knight, and it's 100 demons, so it can go in either deck. Act front row, rest this unit, draw a card, and this unit cannot move to other rearguard circles until end of turn, so you can't rest it, draw, and like move it back. Auto front row rearguard at the beginning of your battle phase. If either your Vanguard is armed with, I'm gonna butcher this, Akluta Guanif, that's the arm for this deck. We'll talk about when we get to it. Or you have a grade 3 or greater rearguard with Yamageto and its card name, stand this unit. Basically, you play the deck properly, he would restand so you don't lose on any attacks. I chose not to play this card in my deck because it doesn't gain any kind of power. It's just a base 10k, and that makes it really bad even with the draw. And then this is our grade 2 order. I was trying this out. I chose not to play it for reasons. We'll talk about that when we talk about the rest of the build. But you play it with a Counterblast 1, draw 2 cards until the end of your turn. You can play up to a total of 2 orders, but you cannot play orders other than Dragon Empire Legend, which was the grade 1 order. Basically, they're meant to be played together. And lastly, we have our own rearguard, which is Twin Demon Dragon Zahak. Continuous rearguard Guardian Circle. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Kyoya in its card name, this unit gets power. This unit gets power plus 5,000 and shield plus 5,000. Activate on your opponent's turn as well. So if you come out with the grade 3, this thing's sitting at 20k even on your opponent's turn. And then auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard, if your order zone has Dragon Een, Soul Blast 1, the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1. The arm. I'm not going to try to pronounce it again. Or a card with Azai Haka and its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. Azai Haka, that's our grade 4s. But that's all of our support. From even the grade 3s, we don't have any grade 3 rear guards. And as far as impact orders, he doesn't have his own impact order, but he can play either Gargantua Punisher or Dragonic Punisher, depending on how you build the deck. Because you can play Jackknifes in the deck because they're dragons. You just have to pick which ones you want to use that don't necessarily rely on you having Tsuku as a Vanguard. But what Dragonic Punisher does, for anybody that doesn't know, if it's in your hand, at the end of your turn, if you have a rearguard with Jackknife in its card, you can Counterblast 1, discard this card, pay 2 gauge, save final phase, choose one of your rearguards with Jackknife in its card name, stand it, and it attacks your opponent. So you can get 6 attacks. The other one, I personally think Gargantua Punisher is a little bit better for this deck, though it is still really hard to get off even in this deck. It's even hard to get off in its own deck. But auto hand at the end of your turn, if your opponent has damage zone has 4 or more cards, and you Persona Roll this turn, Counterblast 1, discard this card, pay 4 gauge, and save final phase. Choose one of your Vanguards, stand it, and it attacks your opponent. So this deck gets 5 attacks naturally, really, really easily, as long as you have just one of the main grade 4s. And it's a 4 attack deck. No, without it, you got the right one. It's a 5 attack deck. Super easy, costs like nothing. And this would make it 6 attacks, and you get an extra twin drive, and the Vanguard gets a 10k and a crit, which we'll talk about when we get into the grade 4s. So, like, it's a really good restand. Now we have our grade 4s, and these are like, this is the main gimmick of the deck, is the fact that we have these grade 4s. So, let's talk about the grade 4s. I'm actually going to talk about the sword first because of how these guys work. So, it arms to a grade 3 or greater with Kyoya in its card name. It cannot be played, it cannot be armed other than by the ability of a card with Azai Haka in its card name, which is the 2 grade 4s. We'll talk about that in a second. But what it does is, continuous Vanguard, during your turn, your Vanguard gets 10,000 power, critical +1. And all of your units with Azai Haka in its card name get power plus 5,000. So if you have rear guards, if you have the grade 4s rear guards, they get 5k from the grade 3, 5k from the sword. So they're sitting on 23ks, just a base. Granted, on your opponent's turn, they have the 5k that the grade 3 gives, but not the 5k from the sword. Anyway, last effect, auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. When the unit this card is armed to is attacked, the armed unit gets 15,000 power until the end of that battle. Like buff Sagra's Shield, you can just give yourself 15,000 to help block an attack once per turn. Super good, super abusable. Now let's talk about the grade 4s. So first off, we got Demonic Demise Dragon Azai Haka. Cannot be ridden. Call cost is pay 2 gauge. if you guys have heard me talk about all the rear guards so far, none of them cost any gauge. The only one that costs a gauge, well, two, is the 2 grade 4s. Nothing else, your gauge is not used for anything else, unless you put in dragon rear guards, which we did. But we'll talk about that again when we talk about the deck build. What did the rest of its effect? Continuous rear guard. When this unit would attack, choose a card with the Zide Haka and its card name from your hand or drop. You may bind it. If you do, this unit battles all of your opponent's front row units until the end of that battle. You know what? Solid. Swing, kill the front row. And then its other effect is when this unit is retired during your opponent's turn, or your damage check reveals a card during your opponent's turn. If your Vanguard does not have an item, search a deck or drop for up to 1 sword in its card name. I'm not saying the name. And arm it to your Vanguard. If you search your deck, shuffle your deck. This thing right here. So that's how we get the sword. We either have to take a damage or one of these guys have to be retired off the rear guard, because this grade 4 has the same effect. The call cost for this one though is pay 2 gauge and retire a rear guard. So you have to make sure you have a rear guard before you go digging for this guy. When this unit is retired during your opponent's turn, or your damage checks reveals a card during your opponent's turn, if your Vanguard does not have an item, search your deck for the sword, arm it to your Vanguard, all that fun stuff. It also has double attack. When in the back row center, once per turn at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If your grade 3 or greater Vanguard is stand, count +1 stand this unit. So that right there is 5 attacks, because he's going to be a 4th attack from the back row. And then lastly, back row center, once per turn, when this unit is stand by this unit's effect, it gets 10,000 power till end of turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it also gets +1 critical. So that's the main gimmick of the deck. I personally think this grade 4 Azai Haka is the best choice for your buddy, because you always want to make sure you have him, because he's the main crux of your offense. As long as you have him, you have 5 attacks. If you don't have him, you can still get 4 if you have one of the grade 4s in the back row, but 5 is still better than 4. But anyway, let's talk about the deck build. So first off, we got 3 copies of Azai Haka. You're gonna have these 3, plus you're gonna have him as your buddy. If you can't draw into him or search into him with the grade 2, you would just buddy call to make sure you have your attacks. And since the grade 3's main ability is a counterblast, you can counterblast, call a dude, and now you have the materials to play this card. And with the buddy call, you get the counter charge, so you basically did it all for nothing. 3 copies of Azai Haka. It's our other main beat stick. I wish these cards gain their own power boost. I like that one of them does when it restands, but this one doesn't, but it does swing at the whole front row, so it does eliminate intercepts. So I think it's still a good beat stick. We have our 3 persona rides. Now, I went with a drum build because A, we needed an early game, and we needed some beefy rear guards, and we don't use our gauge for anything, especially in the early game. So I was like, all right, drum's a good card. So drum's call cost is pay 1 gauge, put the top card of your deck into the buddy soul, or it's top of the deck, or from the drop, right? No, it has to be the top of the deck. But then he could turn into this one, Thunder Knight's Drum Bunker Dragon. So I went through all of the dragon support, and majority of them still get all of their effects, but a lot of their power boosts are locked behind certain vanguards. This one, on the other hand, is not. And this one can also get Buddy Soul from the drop, so you don't have to burn through your deck as much. But when this card is moved to Guardian Circle from the rear guard, until the end of that battle, it gets 5,000 shield, and it also gets 5,000 shield for every card in your Buddy Soul. Now with Drum says if you want that grade 3, whatever's on top of it gets 5k power, 5k shield. So say you have 2 cards in your Buddy Soul, which would happen with Drum, this thing would get 10k shield from that, 5k shield from himself, 5k shield from Drum, so it's a 25k interceptor. And while I normally don't like cards that only gain power on intercept, it has Soul Guard, so it stays on the board, and if your opponent's at grade 3, it also gets 5k power when it attacks. Also, it's a dragon, so our grade 3 gives it 5k. So this thing will be sitting at 20 without you having to do anything. And then if Drum's in the Buddy Soul, it gets an additional 5k. So it's just a solid beat stick that you can also use for defense. Twin Demon Dragon Zahaka, again, another good beat stick. It just sits at 20 for existing. It's also a 10k shield, and it searches our grade 4s. 4 copies of Kagliosho. It's our only grade 1. It's also a draw engine. It's also something we can sacrifice. Sorry, I'm playing a lot of Magic. It's also something we can retire for the cost of our grade 4. We can play it, draw a card, get rid of it, call our grade 4. We got our PGs. I'm playing 3 and 1 of the Order PG. We're playing 2 copies of the Sword. The Sword is only playable by the grade 4, so there's no reason to play a bunch of them. I'm playing 2 just in case one gets damaged. We're playing Fire Regalis, digs for our pieces, helps us build the board. Gargantua Punisher, I already explained. and we're playing 4 copies of Dragon Empire Legend. It's our only gauge generation. It's also a draw and a counter charge. As far as our triggers go, you guys know I do not like the Buddyfight trigger, and the Buddyfight over trigger is just not great. And we have rear guards that are going to be standing, and we're going to be calling dudes as much as we can. So Valnut is the best option, especially since we're going to swing with our back row center, restand it, swing Vanguard. We can then put this on the back row center, swing. It also is going to have its own passive crit. Front one with defensive fronts. Deck doesn't use any soul, so I didn't see any reason to run soul fronts. I went with Ultimate Buddy because being able to give these guys soul guard, because our grade 4s are our most important cards, especially in the back row. They don't have soul guard, they don't have any defense. So this deck succumbs really hard to retire, block, bind, shuffle back to deck, especially bind and shuffle back to deck, because then you don't get the sword. They have to be retired. So giving them soul guard is nice. Sometimes you just need to clear a problem rear guard, that's why I went with this. And then of course we have the broken ass Green Dragon Shield, which when this card is put onto the guard circle, if your damage has no face-up cards, you can discard a card and counter charge 1. Super free. Anyway guys, this is the deck, this is the build we went through. More than anything, as simple as the playstyle is for this deck, I think the aesthetic, the way it looks, is just the coolest out of all the Buddyfight decks. And that's why I'm excited to play it. Regardless, let's go jump into a game. Alright guys, we got a game, we're going first. I'm thinking I'm gonna send everything back but the grade 1 first, so we have some early game. Yeah, we got good early game cards. So this is actually a little while after I, talked about the deck, because I just it was late. I couldn't get a game. It was like 3 in the morning. All right, so we're gonna drop the sword to ride. We're gonna put grade 4 into our order zone. We're gonna use the grade 0 skill. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to use these so we don't destroy our early game. And then you know what? We'll charge and draw a drum, because we can search when we ride grade 1. I'm telling my opponent I lose at 7 now, and that's our turn. Not a bad turn. I guess I could have played the order. That was dumb of me. I should have played the order to get an extra gauge and an extra draw, but it's alright. Just didn't think about it. So yeah, I discarded the sword for ride. I discarded the heal trigger to trigger Dragon Ean's skill, making it so I can survive till 7 damage. And then of course we did the charge and draw. All right, battle phase. So we're gonna go no guard here. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's Rotovisor. They got the new grade 2. New grade 2 is pretty good. All right, we're gonna drop the grade 4 since we can always just buddy call or search another one later. Gotta remember this. Charge and draw. So we'll charge another grade 4 because we can always get another one later. Then we will discard a ride. Okay. Now, skill. Look at top 5 for a dragon. The funny thing about this is we can either grab the grade 4 or we can even grab Gargantua Punisher. Or we can grab a trigger if we want more defense. You know what? I'm gonna grab Gargantua Punisher. It's a 1-of in the deck, and we might be able to use it for later. Now, main phase, we're gonna play our order. So the order draws us a card, puts us in here, and we will get to counter charge if we had 1 or less damage. We're gonna call Cagliostro skill. We're gonna get to draw, and then we're gonna call drum by paying a gauge. We'll play drum, and then we can put a card from our drop into the Buddy Soul, which that'll give us a power boost when our opponent gets the grade 3. So then we go battle phase, swing in. Swing in. Grade 4. That's cool, that means we don't have to waste our buddy call. Ooh, wait, the Rotovisor got a new ride line? Alright, so there's this first arena. So we're going to try to use as few gauge as possible so we can turn on Gargantua Punisher on our turn 4. So if it hits, okay, and you charge 2, yeah, we'll take that. So I guess energy charge 2, not a big deal. All right, so we're gonna charge and draw. You know what? I don't think, does Rotovisor have retire? You know what? It don't matter. We'll charge and draw. Then we'll discard for ride. And then a grade 2 skill. We'll take the top card of our deck, put it into the gauge, and we draw a card. That's actually a great card right now. We're going to play our order, which is going to draw us a card and put itself into the gauge. So now we have 7 gauge. We have a lot of gauge to play with. We're going to move this back. We're going to call Guilt. Soul Blast 1. He basically gets to check, look for one of our grade 4s. Top 7. Not the grade 4 I want, but not bad. Add that to hand. But I want my full attack, so we're gonna end up doing our buddy call. But let's do this first. Counterblast. Look at top 5 for a dragon and call it. Never mind. Now we don't have to waste our buddy call. Skill. Well, not skill, but cost. We have to pay 2 gauge and retire. All right, and now we have setup. Now these guys all gain 5k because of our grade 3. This one gains 10k because when I have a grade 3 Kyoya. And now we have 5 attacks. So let's go battle phase. Does the marker still not work? Nope. All right, so he gets to draw an extra card. All right, and then skill, counterblast, restand, and he gets power plus 10k. He doesn't get the critical because our opponent's not at grade 3. Now we're gonna go 15 to Vanguard. It would be 25 because we have drum in the buddy soul if our opponent was at grade 3. That's fine. Now I'm gonna go 13. All right, 2 to pass, twin drive, first check, second check, front trigger. Now we're gonna go 28. And then 30. Oof. All right, lots of damage. So our opponent's already at 4 damage. Unfortunately, we do not have a Persona Ride, which is upsetting. If we had a Persona Ride, we'd be able to easily guarantee Gargantuan Punisher because we already have 5 gauge. We're gonna charge and draw on our next turn. So see, this is why I said Gargantuan Punisher is kind of good in here because we can get it off really easily. Once he hits our Vanguard, we'll get the sword, so we'll have 10k and a crit on our turn, a 15k we can use to guard with. Like we'll have a nice setup. We're also gonna try and intercept with the drum or with the hawk, so we can call Azai Dahaka, since that's going to have plus 10k because of the sword. Once we get the sword, it's going to have 5k from our grade 3, 5k from the sword. And that is our goal. And if we're forced to use both intercepts, then Drum can just call himself out. Is this the new grade 2? Yep. Can I hit 2 things? And what the hell does this thing do? So, does he have a way to get an extra arena out? Or if you chose 3 or all the rear guards stand, yeah. And they all countercharge and or. So he's going 15 to my back row and to my Vanguard. Alright, at the end of the battle, this unit draw a card, choose the same number of your rear guards, arenas, and stand them if you chose 3. Okay, so they get to stand on plus 15. Alright, so you know what? We're gonna let this die, and we're gonna take 1 damage. Word. And then skill, because it was retired during my opponent's turn, I can search my deck for the sword and arm the sword. He gets to energy charge 2. All right, so now he's swinging at me with 15. I guess Drum's a good one to guard with here. Oh, he gets to do it twice even after he stands. That's interesting. Let's go. You know what? Let's see if he gets a trigger. He does. So he has to give it a Vanguard. Otherwise the attack doesn't hit. He's giving it to the rear guard. Interesting. Oh yeah, I forgot this. Oh, my rear guard was an 18. All right, so he shouldn't have hit my grade 4. I forgot that these have power on them because their effects are continuous on both players' turns. I totally forgot. As a matter of fact, what about Drum's power boost? It's yeah, so these are both 20Ks as well. Targets. So yeah, my rear guard behind my Vanguard actually should have been 18, so yeah, it shouldn't have hit. We're gonna go sword. So plus 15k power, so that blocks that. So minus 15. Oh, you couldn't hit anything anyway. All right, cool. Oh my God, we have it. I panicked. Don't count that against me, guys. We had the grade 3 already. I didn't believe that we actually ripped into the grade 4. I mean, not grade 4, the Persona Ride, because now we have Gargantua Punisher live. I'm so excited. All right, so we charge and draw. We Persona Ride. We go to main phase. We need a rear guard to retire. It doesn't fucking matter what we call. We can counterblast 1, and then we can countercharge 1, which will give us everything. No, because we need a counterblast for Gargantua Punisher as well. So we're just gonna call this. We're gonna go Buddy Call, which is gonna countercharge 1, pay 2 gauge, call, retire. So these guys all have power boosts. So this has 5k from itself, 5k from Drum, and 5k from my Vanguard. This has 5k from my Vanguard and 5k from the sword. And this guy's just 20k. No, I lied. He has 10k. 5k from himself, 5k from my Vanguard. Battle phase. Oh, he got a heal trigger? That sucks. It's fine. 23. Vanguard has 10k and a crit. I forgot. Okay. Skill. Counterblast. Restand. Gets 10k and a crit. Now we're going to go 33 for 2. Okay, PG. Well, I think that's GG. I mean, second check, front trigger, 100 million for 2. Restand, swing again. Okay, he blocks the second one. $40k. Okay, 45. All right. Now I would go to end phase. So I'm gonna say final phase. Counterblast. Pay 4 gauge. And discard. Restand the Vanguard. it's 43 for 2. Because the front trigger. I mean, it was kind of tainted by the OT, but that was cool. Not gonna lie. The way that ended, our opponent probably would have survived, but that was a crazy ass last turn. Even without the OT, we did have the Gargantuan Punisher set up, so we would have had another Vanguard attack, which would have, without the front trigger, it still was 33 for 2 with an additional drive check. So hey, that's cool. He probably most likely would have perfect guarded the second crit because he had no reason to believe that I had that. Well, actually, I searched at the beginning of the game, so he should have known. Anyway, cool finish. Thoughts on this deck? Aesthetically, this is my favorite Buddyfight deck. This thing just looks amazing. I love the fact that it can incorporate any dragons in the entire Buddyfight nation. Gameplay-wise, it's really, really simple, but it's definitely going to have a weaker matchup against control boards, mostly because these guys do not have Soul Guard. That's why we were going to play the critical trigger to give them Soul Guard if we actually need to, which I should have done beforehand, before he, swung into it. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this last Buddyfight deck. Let me know if you guys think I should tweak the build, try something different, try different ratios. I really had a lot of fun with it, and I kind of want to mess with it a little bit more. I still think my favorite one's the Katana World deck, just because I am I like control. Guys, if you want to check me out on social media, those links are down below. If you want to see me play some Cardfight Vanguard live and give your thoughts on decks live, come by the next Vanguard stream. Next Vanguard stream will be Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, I would love to have you guys. That is it from me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.
In my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, you ain't right like this. I got reason to believe, I don't need it from my gifts. Only I can change the world and it go like this.